Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, Brother Brand Ambassador, and I'm super excited to see you. I actually always forget about that little countdown, which allows you just a few seconds to log in, and I just start talking away. So if you saw part of it, now I'm back. All right, everyone, I see you all rolling in YouTube. You guys are so much fun. You're already in here saying hi, and it's great to see you. And yes, it did stop snowing since yesterday when I saw you, but there's a ton of snow and now it's freezing. So what's a better way to warm up than that? Oh, yeah, we've got a fun one for you today. May Flaum is here. This is going to be a great project. She's got the ScanNCut out and she's doing some hand embroidery. And I'm pretty sure, if I know May pretty well, we're going to have some great inspiration and something fun for the holidays. And we still have a few weeks to do that. So pop in, say hi, and give a big shout out to May Flaum. May, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. It's good to see everybody. Hi.
It is great to see you.
We're definitely in the winter mode, aren't we?
We are. And you know, on Tuesday, I mentioned you were coming on the show and someone said, yay, I haven't seen May in a while live. And I'm like, I agree. I'm so happy you're here. You always have something fun and your studio is looking amazing.
Oh, thank you. You know what? I just finished the Christmas presents that I have, like getting them because I keep them in here to hide them from everybody. So I just finished wrapping them. Thank you to the live show, because of the live show, I got everybody out yesterday, all wrapped up and out of here. So I've got the studio back, and I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about this too. We're gonna have some fun with this one. This is a really versatile thing. If you don't have an embroidery machine, or if you do and you just want something to kind of sit and relax with and play with, hand embroidery is a lot of fun, and you can really just start super simple too.
And I think it's going to be fun. So, and this could be what they could do with their kids too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can do this with all sorts of things. And then once it's done, obviously it's like anything you might have, embroidery or applique or whatever, you can put it on whatever you want to put it on. So you could go from, I'm going to do like a wall hanging or a decor piece, to I'm putting this on clothing. Maybe I'm making a tote bag. Maybe I'm making a quilt. Whatever you want to do with it, you can then take it and just use it in whatever way you would want. You're just going to want to sort of think about it before you get started, just so that you make sure you're working in a size that works. And so you're working in a way that's going to translate. You don't want to do all that hard work or rather time-consuming work of hand embroidery and then turn around and the fabric you've got on there is so small, you can't actually use it for what you wanted to use it on. So that's just really the main, there's really not rules here, which is pretty exciting. And I feel like we all forget that the ScanNCut draws.
Yes, I think you do. And it's easy. I mean, but I'm going to let you take it away, because this is going to be very fun. I see a lot of people saying in here, I love the draw feature. Somebody else just said, what is the draw feature? Well, you're going to find out, and it's super easy.
Yeah, it really is. And it's going to be depending on, so the first thing we have to decide is just what do we want to make and what are we making it for? So for an example here, I've got, he wants to be a little bright there here. Well, I'll show this to you again, but basically I took a scrap of fabric and I was playing around with it, but there's a couple of issues with the way I was playing around with it. Number one, do you need to have some sort of stabilizer? I'm sorry, you probably do. I say I'm sorry just because I'm always one that if I can skip the extra step, I'm going to. The thing with the stabilizer, and again, I'll show you this up close when we get to there. The thing with the stabilizer is if you don't put it and you're just using like a thin cotton fabric like I am, you're going to get the puckering. Anybody who's done embroidery at all, you guys know, it's going to pucker up, or it's not going to be as pretty, as well done as if you had stabilized it. So I'm definitely going to recommend some kind of stabilizer. Now, you can do a lot of different ones. This one actually it was like sticky back stuff, right? So once it's on there, it's really on there. But more like I just stuck it on there and went to town. And that worked really well for me. And I had a lot of fun with that. You could do iron-on, you could do the drawing, and then like the stabilizers where you're just setting it together in a hoop, for example, to do your hand embroidery. And I'm just it's kind of the boring part here, but I'm just putting that out there right up front, because that's going to be step one, is assuming you're working on a thinner fabric, you're going to need that. I don't usually have to use it, say, when I'm working on my wool felt. I really don't need to stabilize my wool felt. It holds together really well. So think about that as far as your material and then what kind of stabilizer. I'm all over the board. I look around. Usually if I'm doing this, I look around and see I've been sewing. Do I have any scraps? Can I use those scraps over here? And if so, that's absolutely what I start with. If not, you know, we can cut a new piece too. If you don't draw with it and then you just like add some, if you're going to stitch in a hoop, that works really well. If you don't do, I do a lot of cross stitch. So I have a lot of hoops. If you don't, but you have a brother sewing machine, you could put it in your embroidery hoop from that and use that. You could also probably, depending on that stabilizer you used, you may be able to just hold the fabric and do your hand embroidery. All of that is going to go down to what materials you use and what is your preference. What do you like to do? Okay. So once you've kind of decided, or once you kind of looked at those, next step, if we go down to the desk, we're going to get into Art Spira here. I'll pull this up down here on the desk, Cam. So let's see. Angela, if we can do the ScanNCut.
Oh.
There we go. Okay, so
hold on. I was like, I see it, and then you're like, I can't see it. It's there.
I can see it here, but not here. Yeah, there we go. So we have lots and lots of designs. You can look through. I mean, you really can do just about anything. Before I get too far here, now that we've got that camera up here, I'll just show you. Here's one, and actually on Instagram and Facebook, I have a short video of doing this. Here's a finished one with an Art Spira design. And it just, you know what, guys? It's just a lot of fun. And then this is the one that I started to show to you what not to do. You see how it's all getting bunchy and funky here? And I also went right on the edge of the fabric. So how exactly do I think I'm going to be attaching this? How do I think this is exactly going to work? I'm not so sure it would. And I'm just putting this out here as an example for why you really want to think about it, or why you maybe want to take a few extra minutes and do something like stabilizer or work in a way that makes sure your end result is going to really work for you. Okay. I'll be able to make this work. I'm going to cover all this up with some green. I'm going to add some stabilizer. So this one is not going to be wasted. We'll make it work, but it's just one of those things that you just kind of, if you stop and think about it now, you're going to be a lot happier than if you charge forward and then wish you had. So there are so many designs in Art Spira, and there's so much fun. I mean, we can do anything at all. And sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, to be honest, when I go scrolling through here, because there's just so much stuff. You know, there's just so much fun stuff that we can do. And this, let's see, where'd it go? I thought I just saw it somewhere in here. Like these little trees, they're like the little trees that I did. There's the exact one I did right there. So what I tend to look for, you can actually do anything you would like. But what I tend to look for is something, I'm looking for nature, maybe some plants here. I really tend to look for something that's going to look nice embroidered. So this is the design that I was showing you where I messed it all up. I'm not going to look like a cloud like that. I mean, I can do it if I really want to fill it all in, but typically I'm trying to find something that's going to be just look nice with stitching, like something that I look at and think, oh, I would really like to see that stitched. Maybe a wreath. Let's see. Oh, that's a project. Okay. No, I don't want a project right now. So many options. I'm looking for, there's actually a flower that I really like for this. And I think I saw one that will work, but I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can get lost in here and how many designs there are. And a lot of times when I'm doing this and going through and looking, honestly, a lot of times I end up finding something I didn't even know was there, or I didn't even realize was an option. Okay, I like that one. That's a good one. Oh. There we go. So what I'm going to do, I do this sometimes. I don't know if you guys do, but I'll favorite it just in case, I don't know, in case something goes funky. I want to make sure I've got that saved. And then I'm going to go into design editor here. And down at the bottom, we're going to hit design. Non-licensed, yes. And this is the funny part for me, at least. I'm just going to hit anything, any one of them, because the first thing that's going to happen, here we go, there's all my favorites. So all my favorites pull up first. And I can see all of the things. Oh, there's that flower I had saved. Okay, there it is. See? So all of the things I've ever saved for favorites, or I've thought, oh, I really think I'm going to make that as a project, they're going to pop up right here. Like I have a friend with a Frenchie, and I thought it'd be really cute to do maybe something with vinyl or sublimation. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, so that's why that's there. But you can see they're all here. So I'm going to pick that flower that I had originally wanted. Okay, and hit done. Okay, so it's going to put it in here. We can resize it if we would like, if there's something you want a little different. I think that's probably about good. Now, here's the part that took me an embarrassingly long amount of time and a lot of inappropriate language to figure out. Down here at the bottom, switch it to draw. So you're telling Artspira, I'm going to draw this, not cut it. That is a very important step. As otherwise, when you go to the machine, if you don't do that, the machine, when you hit draw, is going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no drawing files here. So if you're working off Artspira, now if you work off the ScanNCut directly, you're not doing that. And we're going to transfer it. That's just one of those little tiny details, right? You guys know those details where you go, what happened? I don't know. Well, that's what happened. So we'll pull our ScanNCut up here. And we should have it here. Oh, good. It did connect to the internet. That's always pleasant. And then I'm pulling it down. Let's see, just about here. Simply because I've already got my fabric on my mat and I know exactly where I want that. And that should be really good. Maybe a little higher. Okay. And I can scan my mat if I want to, but because I centered it on that 6-inch line, I don't really need to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my mat in just to get that out of the way here. And now the really fun part here, we're going to use a pen. And I think I'm going to use a brown pen. So I'm going to move this a little just to show you something here. There we go. So I can do a test here to make sure, does my pen mark on my fabric? Excuse me. The only thing we do have to make sure is that whatever pen we're using works on fabric to draw. So I did a little test there. I know this one works, but I did a little test to make sure it's still working because I forgot to put the cap on it. I left it in the machine overnight. I was having too much fun. So this here, this is the universal pen holder that you can get. And the two parts, this is the part we're going to put in the machine. This part is to make sure that we get our pen down to the right spot so that it will draw. So you just want to have that pen tip, whatever kind of pen you've got, or pencil. I mean, there's lots of things you can use, is there. And then you twist this to lock it in, and then it's there. And we just come over to here and set it in our ScanNCut. Oh, let me make sure that's up. Set it down in the ScanNCut and just close it down. Same as you would if you were working with the blade, but this time it's a pen. Now, as far as what pen are we using, or, what type, is it erasable? Is it washable? What color? You can use whatever you like. The only thing I try to keep in mind is how is that going to, like, is the pen I'm using going to do well? And then we're going to select draw. Is it going to work well for what I'm doing? And that might mean for some things you don't care. Honestly, if you're doing like all one color, like I did the green tree, I did green pen because that way, if when I'm stitching, I miss a spot or there's a little gap, it's just going to be green right there. You're not going to even see what I missed. So we're going to say draw. We're going to say start. And I'll pull this down here so you guys can watch the fun. And it's just going to go around. Now, the one thing that it'll do, which I think is a really cool detail, this will draw the outline of everything, but it is also going to draw in the details, and it's also going to fill in. So it really, the art spirit has really taken this up a level. Now, if your pen skips or if it's not quite how you wanted it in some way, remember that you're going to be stitching over this and it's really okay. So I'm going to pause this. Okay. So I hit pause because we got to the point here where I can see what it's going to do now. And I'll not remove this.
Hey, this looks so good.
So what it's going to do at this point that I got to, it was going to start coloring in everything. So it draws all the outline first, like you would expect on a cut, and then it's going to start coloring in. Number one, I don't want it colored in. And number two, I could see I took a chance with a little bit older mat and it started to wiggle a little bit. So I don't want wiggling. So if it starts to do any of that, I just paused it. And then I can take it out. And since I'm going to color this in myself, I think that's great. I love that it does do that though. And here I'll show you. If we come in, you can see how on that design, let me see if I can, there's that. Let me see if I can get it in here. I always forget that I'm so used to Art Spira now and that I just use my fingers to make it bigger. Sometimes I forget. Okay. So you can see here, if I keep my finger on this, you can see how it's just the outline. But if you have it in draw mode, it's going to do the outline and then it's going to want to go in there and fill everything in for you, which is kind of cool, honestly. I've done stuff with watercolor pens. I'm just going to scoot that out of our way now. I've done stuff with watercolor pens where that's really helpful because then I'm just adding water and just kind of like letting the colors blend and bleed. We're going to want to put our cap back on our pen and put our pen away so that we don't dry out pens on accident. And then for this, now it's up to you. Now's where the fun starts. So I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of this for you here. And if it so happens, I know I bumped into that machine while it was going. So I got it a little bumped there where it has a funky spot. But remember, for drawing, it's not going to be a problem at all because what we're going to do is we've got our thread. So however you want to think of it, painting with thread or just however you like to think about it, we're just going to start. And I know I mentioned stabilizer before. This one has, actually, I probably want to pull, I have the iron-on kind, so I want to pull this paper sheet off before I actually get piercing here. That wouldn't be good. And this one, it feels thick. It was a scrap that I had, and honestly, it feels thick enough. I know I mentioned about the hoop. I think it feels thick enough that we're going to be just fine doing it ourselves. So I'm going to show you just basically how I do or what I do here. So I just get it going here, and I'm just using embroidery floss, and I'm using all 6 strands because I like it. If I'm going to do something like this, I really want it to show up. So I want it a little bit chunky. And typically what I will do, it does depend, but typically I'll do if there's an outline, like this one has an outline, I'm going to do the outline first. Because that way, what I can do is just kind of gauge, okay, here's where I am, here's the outline. And you see there's that one little tiny spot where it's just slightly wiggled there. I'm just correcting it by putting the line where I want the line. And I used a brown pen, but I'm not worried about that brown pen at all because I'm going to be covering every inch. Now, this one's going to take me a couple hours. So I'd love to sit and chat with you for a few hours, but we aren't actually going to sit and do this for hours and hours. We'll just do it for a few minutes here, and then I'll show you some different stuff on some different pieces and give you some more ideas. But you get the gist, I bet. I like doing the outline first because I feel like if I do the outline first, I can kind of see where I'm going or kind of get a better feel for how the piece is going to look. And then I'll start to fill it in with other colors, with other stitches. Like these guys up here maybe would look cute with French knots. There's lots of stuff that we can do, and you can look up. I feel like it's endless. The hand embroidery stitches you can do. I mean, there's so many. There's so many. I just tend to like just kind of a simple, at least to start with. And if I'm doing something where I'm doing the outline, I tend to like pretty simple, unless you want kind of like a braided look, or I don't know, you want to get real funky with this. And I'm doing my stitches a little bit bigger than I probably would normally, just because I'd like to cover a little space and show this to you guys. If you preferred, if for whatever reason holding it by hand doesn't feel good or you don't like it, remember we can always get a hoop, right? We can put a hoop around this and have it hooped for ease. And in fact, I'll do that. I'll go ahead and put it in one just to show you. I do not recommend having doing the hoop when you have thread attached, or if you do, just really take your time and make sure you're not hooking any of that thread into the hoop itself. You just want one that's got at least, I don't know, like you need at least like a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, something like that around the edge. And this one, I forget, is so super tight. So you're just gonna, it doesn't matter what direction it's going. We just need it to be all the way around our work here. I think if I get when I get more intricate, or if I'm maybe working with a more delicate fabric, or if I had just done a stabilizer that wasn't actually attached to the piece, those are all reasons why I would definitely get this into a hoop. But a lot of it, I think you guys all know, with all this crafting stuff, a lot of it is what works for you. What works for you, and what for your way of creating, like what do you like? What do you want to see, right? And with these designs, especially these ones that are more like an outline of a drawing, what you're also going to find is that as you're doing this, you've got quite a bit of creative license here to change things up. Like, for example, here, this is where the stem is coming in. Well, I can do this a lot. I could have done this a lot of different ways. Like, I could have treated this like this part was also green and part of the stem, and have the greens and such coming up this way. Or the choice I'm making is I'm going to run across that opening there and treat this more like that's the bottom of the flower. And let's see, I like it right there. And just going through, depending on where my hands are at on any given day, if I've got any injuries flaring up or anything like that, the hoop can sometimes be nicer support than just having the fabric in my hand. Sometimes that can kind of fatigue my left hand a little bit. So remember your hand health, my crafty friends. We do not want our hands to not feel good. That's not fun. Injured my own hands enough to know we do not want that. So yeah, you can kind of see how it's going along. And you guys, let me know what you think. I'm thinking a lighter color inside here, inside these areas. Do like a fill of a lighter color. I will show you, since we've got some of the outline set there, then one of the things I will also do to create movement here is here I would go and I'll kind of try to create like a general area that I'm aiming towards. But we can start to, And you can go back and forth if you don't want to like waste more. If you're trying to not waste thread, you can start top to bottom here. So I'm going to just kind of fill this in. Not fun. And I'm telling you, I like this. You know what? This is fun year round, but there's something about winter that gets me doing my hand stitch projects more than any other time of the year. I don't know what that's about. It's just how it seems to work out. And you can have the threads cross over. You can have some threads go longer. You can also work other colors in. So for example, if we wanted more of like an ombre effect, we could do some threads running through here that are darker or lighter, or, you know, kind of go in different hues. There's just so many options. But it really is kind of, I think it's really fun because now I'm not paying for an embroidery pattern. I'm working with something that I want to work with. And it was so, you guys saw how fast and easy is that? I mean, we are live. Gosh, we're not even at 30 minutes and we already like picked the pattern, made the pattern, and we're well on our way with the stitching. Isn't that great? It's so easy. Okay, probably the only part that maybe isn't easy is making sure that you keep track of where you're at and get your needle into the right spot. Sometimes that can take a moment there. And another thing I'll do when it starts to get full is I'll just kind of drag my needle down and just kind of get towards the base, but not like push in necessarily. But isn't that going to be fun? Then I think I'll get to different color, like a little lighter color going up here and then a lighter color here. I see the suggestion for ombre light to dark. I think that'll be super fun, honestly. I think that's going to be really lovely. I think that's going to look really good. But I know I went and picked a flower. I always tend to love flowers in those winter months when we don't have them outside, right?
May, this is looking so pretty. And I know. And someone said, could you do this for couching? Well, that's kind of what you're doing. Is that yarn you're using, or is it just a thicker thread?
This is just, so it's embroidery floss. Essentially what I did was embroidery floss comes and it has 6 threads that you can separate out. And for example, in cross stitch, I'll usually use only 2 of them at a time. I just left all 6.
Yeah, it looks so rich.
With some fibers or yarns, I'm sure you could get into some of that. That would be really cool. And I'll show you. So this one, what we did after I finished all the stitching. So you can see I just went down that pattern with, and if you look really closely, you'll find the green pen in a few spots, which I don't mind. It was fine with me because I only wanted to do more of like an outline here. This poor piece has been through so much though. I put this poor piece through a lot this holiday season already. But after I did that, I added glitter glue and rhinestones. So you could make this dimensional if you wanted to get buttons going, or some of these are like the little French knots here. I mean, you can do so many different things. And then it's up to you. And if you're thinking, well, I don't want to get the sewing machine out, or I don't want to go that direction, well, you don't have to. And I'll show you what I mean. You could always do something like this little frame here. So you could frame it, you could shadow box it. So you could put it in a box there, like you see, and have it in a box. Or in a picture frame. I love a picture frame without glass, so you could actually still see it and touch it, especially if it's dimensional. But you could do something like that. You could also incorporate it into pretty much anything. If we wanted to do a table runner, like I just did a winter table runner, and now that I can't stop thinking about, well, gosh, what if I did some hand embroidery here where I added something like this to it? And you could. Anything that you're going to do, especially with machine sewing, pretty much anything you're going to make, you can do this piece. Yep, we're good there. you could do this piece and then you can decide, okay, well, I want it to be on this other item. And then, you can see how much fabric I left around here. So it'll be really easy to frame this up and include it on some other project that I'm doing. It looks like we got a little tangle in our thread here. There we go. Every once in a while, that might happen. Little thread tangle. That's just keep working nice and slow so you don't have too much of those. But if you do see, so I'm seeing it here where this edge is kind of going over my edge stitching. Don't really worry too much about that, because what we're going to do is I'm going to get the needle to go like so. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of just scoot that thread over just a little bit and go down next to it. So kind of just like getting it in place. And if that's not enough, the other thing you can do here is you can kind of go down and go over so that you're just kind of, you can kind of add like overlapping stitches just to make your thread go wherever it is you're trying to get it to go. It really is very forgiving. And you know what? It doesn't require very much supplies, just essentially what I've got, a needle and thread. And you can keep on going and going and going if you want to with the same color. I'm going to grab, pretty sure I've got it. Yep. So I went faster here by having these pre-done. Right before we started the show, I said, oh, let me get these set and needles on there. If you don't know, everybody, you can use, and you can look it up, you can get some wax for your thread. If you don't know, if you're trying to like put needle to thread by hand, it can be a whole lot easier if you have a little wax on there. It makes everything better. And I was just telling Angela, that is something that I did not learn and nobody told me until many years into my cross stitching and hand embroidery. And it was a life changer. Saved me so much time, especially since I'm not really used to doing my own threading of needles because my brother's sewing machine does it for me every day. I don't ever thread my needle. The machine, that's the machine's job. So it's been really nice to learn that trick a couple of years ago and save a whole lot of time and frustration. Let's see, I'm going to go up here with my green now. And again, this could be any pattern. You could pick a more solid, instead I like the outlines, but you can pick a more solid pattern if you want something more solid or with more layers or whatever. It's just going to depend on what do you want? What are you trying to do? And sizing, again, there's no wrong answer. It could be tiny, it could be huge. Just what are you working on and what would do the best for your project, right? What kind of a pattern or image would be really good for your project? Isn't that fun though? I'm just so glad to see everybody in here. I love kicking off a day with some craftiness. So I'm glad I get to share this with everybody. It's so much fun. And this is also a good one if you have some friends maybe that aren't super crafty, or maybe you want to be, or maybe you're having like a craft night. You could prep a bunch of fabric pieces and images for them and let everybody pick the one that they like. So you've already done the work of getting them drawn and the time consuming part, and let everybody pick one. Then everybody can sit down and, I don't know, have some cider or some cocoa and get to the stitching part. Is pretty much anybody can do this, at least if you're not getting into too many of the, super fancy, more technical hand stitching bits. Oh, I'm going to catch myself there. There we go. If you're sticking to more simple stitches, you can really just get going on this without craft experience, which I think is really fun. It's something I like to share with people as well, because I think that It really just is. It's just fun, guys. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's a lot of fun. And I like everybody's idea of doing kind of ombre looks in there in the flower. I'll definitely do that. And I'll definitely post it to social media so you guys can see, because I can't tell you what I'm going to do with this one because I don't know. I just know that I've always wanted to do this one stitched. And when brother asked me, come on and show you guys this, I thought, okay, well, there's my chance. We're going to get out that pretty flower and stitch it. And then I'm just going to go up the middle. And sometimes, you know, maybe I'll use more layers or less. You really can just kind of feel the project and kind of get the vibe of like, okay, well, I want it to be this way, or I want it to be that. However much or little stitching you require, you can just kind of choose your adventure here, right? If you want it really puffy and thick, use more. If you want it really thin or really minimalist, that's fine too. There's no problem there. You're just going to be going with what works for you. What do you like? Oh, we got a little snag here. Hopefully I can undo it every once in a while, especially when I'm chit-chatting with you and not really looking too closely at what I'm doing. Get a little knot. So our worst case scenario here is that we'd have to trim the yarn. It's really not a big deal. We just have to trim our yarn. I've been doing too much crochet. Trim our thread and just kind of let it go, let it go, back it up one and move on. This one, I'm not quite sure how this got knotted here, but it looks like it's coming undone. So I think we're okay. Yeah, see, it's just a matter of it was just kind of tangled on itself. So take a breath and check it before you get nervous, right? Before you get nervous or think you have to undo it. Check for just a second and see how it
before
goes.
we look at it and go, do we need to cut that? Because that's not.
Yeah, don't just cut it. Just give it a second and see, And sometimes, if you look at the back here, I have got a lot of threads and a lot of stuff going on. And sometimes that will just kind of make things harder. So sometimes you want to be more, we're live and I'm just having a good time. I'm not worrying about it. But when you're doing it at home, you may want to be a little more strategic, or maybe make a few more knots and start a few more places instead of having thread jump around or anything like that. I like that stem though. Isn't that nice? Oh, I like that a lot. And I think we'll do the same kind of ombre thing here on the leaf, where I'll get some different greens going. I like that idea a lot. So we'll get some different greens going to get some different looks. It's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And I'm curious to see if any of you do it. Remember to tag brother, and tag me too. I want to see what you make. I always love getting inspired by this great community to see what everyone's up to, see what kind of crafting is going on and what you've dreamed up. So many options here. I can't stress that enough. And I really love that this is quick and easy, and I don't have to purchase hand embroidery patterns like I used to, because I'm able to repurpose designs that are cutting designs into embroidery designs. And you can probably see here how we're covering up all the brown. You're not seeing any of my pen. And by the time it's done, you would not see the pen at all, because I'm not just trying to do just one bit. And I'm going just slightly either center or just outside of the lines here as I'm doing the outline, which is really going to remove any chance of you seeing that initial thing. I can't believe, honestly, this one's going pretty quick. We're already into the green. The green will be wrapped up today for sure. Not fun. I'll pull this one back out here. Let's see. Yeah, you can see how I've got the different threads. The only thing with like glitter glue and stuff is remember you might want to do a test because it may darken the fabric or stain the fabric. Same with like your rhinestone glues. You can be smart and test. You can be like me and just be reckless and just do it anyway. And what happens, happens. That's up to you. And here again is why I like the stabilizer. I also feel like when you're pulling on the thread, the stabilizer just kind of helps you from not pulling too hard, right? Not going too far and getting too wild with it that you're just like distorting the fabric or creating problems. It gets kind of heavy, right? With all, especially if you're using a thicker thread like I am here with the embroidery.
That really makes a big difference adding that stabilizer. That's a great tip. No, even if it was garment stabilizer behind it to give it some stabilization. Otherwise, definitely a big difference. Everybody's saying they love it. They love it. Super fun. I agree. Great to see you all, by the way. Everybody's rolling and getting ready for all of their holiday makes. Very cute project, May.
Yeah, and you know what? It's so much fun in that draw function. I feel like it's so easy to forget that. It's so easy to forget that some of the features we've got on these machines because there's so many features.
Yeah.
And the addition in Art Spiro with the, okay, well, here's the button, so it'll draw and it'll fill it in. I've used that plenty of times and had it fill it in, and that is great too. If you're working with somebody new or maybe with a child that you're trying to let do some hand embroidery, if you go ahead and use something that fills in, then if they skip spaces, if you're using the same color, like similar color pen to thread, you're not going to see the spaces because it's going to be like if it was a pink flower and you have pink in there, the pink will be there to kind of mask if there's gaps or anything like that, if you let it fill it all the way in. So I think that's really super fun. And then the only other thing to consider, of course, is if you want it to disappear, if you want the disappearing ink, if you want waterproof ink, just think about how are you using this at the end to consider what kind of ink you want to use. Because obviously you don't want to put an ink on there that's reactive with water and then you put this on cream and then you put this on a quilt and then somebody spills some water on it and now there's the fabric stained.
Yeah.
Because it's reactive, but it's not wash away ink. So I used a permanent ink. We can splash it with water, do whatever you want. The ink's not going to move. So that's what I use this time. But, it just kind of depends on, I know I have like an iron and the ink disappears, inks or pen somewhere. Mm-hmm. I just can't tell you where right now because holiday, all I have to say is like holiday season, guys. I don't know. It's somewhere.
I have those. I never even thought of using that until you just mentioned that. I have that when I mark my hems, the one that's wash away, and then there's one that's air away in 24 hours that disappears. That would be a great one to use if you have a design that you draw. You have time to go ahead and hand embroider or whatever you're going to do with it, embellishing, and then it disappears. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you just want to, how you guys all know how it's one of those things that you just kind of have to think about. How am I using this? I know I don't always love slowing down and thinking about what am I doing? How am I using this? What am I doing here? But this is definitely one of those, just take a minute at the start and kind of sort out what it is you're going to be doing before we get too far in.
Are the pens that come with the ScanNCut wash away or permanent? I would say permanent.
They're not wash away, but I don't know if they react with water or like if you get them wet, if they react at all. You would have to just do a little test.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I
don't think they do. I don't think they do, but I haven't used them in a while.
And you always want to test on a piece of fabric anyways, whatever pen you're using to make sure it doesn't run. There's so many other factors. But, I think a lot of people forget about that pen feature because you can use any pen in there with that adapter. And I had a bunch of friends that were like, you can only use the ones that come with the machine. I'm like, oh no, you got to see May. I've got a whole collection of watercolor pens because of May Flaum.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because you can put watercolor pens in here. And then basically if you could draw, we did on fabric, could you do it on watercolor paper? Yep. So you could do something like that. And if you use a watercolor pen and then you're adding water to it, you'll get beautiful effects. And all you did was add water and paint with water, and the color's already there for you.
Super fun. Super fun. Well, May, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for this great project, a great tutorial on using the pen feature and using some hand embroidery, which I think is such a great project when you're watching TV. If you've got your kids or grandkids over, they love stuff like this. It's a great way to get them going, in my opinion.
It really is. It really is our girls' night. You're going to have some fun with some friends, and they don't really want to craft, but they don't know. You just hand them one of these, and they'll have it in moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I hope you stay warm. I'm going to just hang out in because there's so much snow here. I don't even know what to do with it. May, I wish you a very Merry Christmas a couple weeks from now, since I won't see you before then. And the Brother Sewing and Crafting family, I will see you on Tuesday with another, let's see, who's coming on Tuesday? Kathy Stipe. She's not doing recipes this time. I know you love that, but she's got something fun for you. So May, be sure to post a photo on your Instagram when you're finished with that, so we can.
Oh, I will. I know exactly where I want to head with this, so I'm gonna have to just like blow off work today and we're just gonna stitch.
That sounds good. All right, everyone, have a great day. May, great to see you.
Thank you. You too. Bye, everybody.